Hello, I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to In Conversation With, the podcast series that delves into the world of financial services and brings you face to face with some of the most notable figures in the industry. Listen as we discuss topics that are currently facing the industry and hear from visionary CEOs to disruptive innovators as we bring you a diverse array of voices and perspectives. We'll explore the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and the insights they have to share about the ever-evolving landscape of financial services.
Hi, I'm Lois Vallely, Chief Reporter of Money Marketing, and on this episode, I'm joined by Nathan Waldron and Ryan Nobbs of Evergreen Financial Planning. Hi to you both. How are you both?
Great. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Good. So maybe to start off, you could both introduce yourselves, say a bit about why you both decided to join the advice profession. Get my words out. Should we start with you, Nathan?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So it's every time I say this now, I shock myself. I've been in finance 16 years. Every time it's just making me really older and older each and every time. The reason why I got into this is it's something that I've always wanted to do from when I was younger. It was something that I was always really focused on, really interested in doing. But where it all started is completely different. So I didn't start straight away going to uni and wanting to do finance before. I did a lot of shows and entertainment and drama and things like that. And then my first role in finance was just before my son was being born. And I started to role at Barclays. Which was fantastic, local Barclays, and built myself up over the years. Then moved into Premier Banking, did all of my exams at that point, and that was the time I got my exams. And then unfortunately Barclays pulled away from financial advice, and there was just no time limit as to when it was going to be coming back. I waited for a bit, and then I just thought, I cannot keep waiting. I almost reached a glass ceiling. I've got these exams, I can be an advisor, and I want to take the plunge. But at that moment in time, I promise you, it was the hardest thing trying to get a job in the advice profession, because you needed 5+ years experience. And I was like, well, where can I get that from?
How are you supposed to get that?
Yeah. How on earth could I get 5 years? Well, I can't just go and buy it from the top shelf. So it was hard work, waiting. Eventually, Prudential were doing something what they were called new to advice advisors, and I was able to join there. Successfully got the job, which was fantastic. And then started from there in an employed role as a financial advisor. And then how long was we there for? Was it 5 years, Ryan? 5-6 years?
That's like 5-6 years.
Yeah, 5 to 6 years at that point. And then just before, during COVID, there was a restructure, so they made everybody redundant. And then there was an offer to start as a self-employed advisor with your own business, which I took up gratefully. We did that for coming up to 2 years, and then obviously me and Ryan have spoken. I know we're going to speak about that later on in the podcast, and we decided to come together and create Evergreen.
Great. Ryan, what about you? What made you get into financial advice?
It's kind of similar, really. I've always kind of liked dealing with money, even when I was young. Like saving me pocket money, and I'll save this and I can spend this, and it was always sort of drummed into me when I was younger. But yeah, I've always been good with numbers. So originally, actually, I trained to be an accountant, and it wasn't as interesting as I first thought. With that's no digs at any accountants at all. But I just didn't find it as entertaining maybe as I first thought it would have been. And I left college after a year, and I managed to get a job at Halifax. And I started when I was 18, and 3 months in was the financial crash. So I was a cashier at the time, so I didn't really know too much. And I'd done 7 years at Halifax. So I worked my way up through cashier to banking advisor to protection advisor, mortgage advisor. And then at the time there was a restructure at Halifax, and we were asked to leave basically, and I went and got a job at Barclays, which was great. I managed to get a job in a few weeks, and there's no sort of worries there. And I finished up my exams while I was on gardening leave. I was a mortgage advisor at Barclays for about a year. It's similar to Nathan. I wanted to become a financial advisor, but there's no real sort of avenues to go down at that time. So again, same as Nathan, trying to get a job as a financial advisor. Do you have existing client book? No. Do you have any experience? No. Sort of like, where do we go? And it was Prudential. They're new to advice. We joined, and that's how me and Nathan met. We was on the same intake, same training, and you kind of just hit it off from there, really. And 5 really good years at Prudential, obviously learning so much as well through obviously more experienced advisors and the Prudential training and things like that. So really picking up a lot and learning the craft, and then like a restructure, and then we were able to go self-employed and create our own business through M&G, which is one now what they're called, M&G Wealth. So it's been great ever since. Really, I think joining Prudential at that time was the scariest, biggest leap of faith that we probably had to take, and it's all worked out really well. And just lucky to have met as many clients as we have and helped as many people as we have over that time.
Perfect. So you started off, I think you each launched your own business as self-employed advisors in 2021. I just wanted to talk, before we get on to obviously you merging to create Evergreen, I just wanted to talk a bit about what it was like launching your own firm at that time. Was it difficult? Was it fun? What was your experience of it? Either of you. Nathan, should we take you first?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to jump in. I always do that. So yes, it was, and no, it wasn't. A bit of a cop-out answer, but I'll explain at the same time. So realistically, all of my life, I've always been employed. So you go to work, you get paid at this month, you get this, and that was all of a sudden being taken away from you. Plus the fact that you've then got to run your own business. Now, speaking to lots of different people, you'd have people that say, they'd be saying, "Oh my gosh, how are you going to cope?" And then you'll be speaking to other people that were like, "Oh, it's going to be the best thing you ever do. Trust me." So it's like, well, it's got to be somewhere between those two extremes, hasn't it, really? And I think it's more of a kind of coping mechanism for yourself on how you go about it. So when I went into that, I just both eyes open, just jumped straight in, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. I was able to cope with still being an advisor, but took a lot on board in relation to how to run a business, how to make things perfect, starting with the best things, from behind the scenes to make sure everything's okay, not just now, but moving forward as well. I felt that was one of the biggest things to do correctly, is to get everything behind the scenes done properly. A great accountant, business coach if needed, understanding how to get things flowing, understanding when tax is due, all of those things as well. It's a lot of work at the start, but it made everything great leading forward for the future. Would I do it again? Clearly, yes, I would, because we did it with Evergreen, so obviously it wasn't that bad, as you can clearly see from there. But yeah, that was it. It was nerve-wracking at the start, because you're going into something which you have never done before, and people are going to be pulling you in all sorts of different directions. But I feel from my side, because I was able to get the right advice, set up everything solidly from the very start, it made things definitely a lot easier, Lois.
Great. What about you, Ryan? Similar? Different?
Yeah, very, very similar. I think Nathan spoke to people. I also spoke to people, and it was one extreme to the other. Self-employed is the best thing ever. You'll never go back. And then I've got my mum telling me, "You're not going to have a regular income. How are you going to plan your money? You've got a family now. What are you going to do?" I had both extremes. But I think, like what we do, like we obviously help clients, we give financial advice, we plan. It's the same for us when we started a business. We've got a good accountant. M&G provided a lot of help and like seminar meetings and things like that to make sure that we had everything ready for when we were going to go self-employed. And you just got to be a bit more adaptable with certain things that could potentially not go wrong, but that might alter month to month. So I think just being a little bit organized with it, and obviously everything that you haven't done before is scary because you've never done it before. But I think once we was a few months in, it was great. Everything was as it should be and running accordingly. The accountant keeps us in line with, your tax is due for this, for corporation tax, your personal for this. And it's nice. It's not for me to work out. It's just for me to obviously pay when it's due and things. So, it's just a bit more hands-on, whereas before M&G or Prue at the time would organise everything for us. It was a little bit more straightforward, but I can't remember now what it's like to be employed. I can't really remember now.
Wow. I did. I actually went freelance. Became a freelance journalist in lockdown. So it's not quite the same. There's probably not quite so much work to it, but it's a similar sort of thing, having to do your own tax. I stupidly didn't hire an accountant, and honestly, it was just an absolute nightmare. So shout out to accountants.
Shout out to accountants, honestly. Shout out to accountants everywhere. The good ones, of course. But honestly, they, without them, that's where a lot of the stress comes. If you think that you can do it all, some people can, don't get me wrong, but if you think that you can do it all and then that bill hits you and you don't know what to do, you do it wrong, and then you get that brown envelope coming through the door, that's when it could start to cause a bit of a problem. So shout out to accountants.
Totally imagine. So great. So you launched your both individual businesses, and then you decided to join together to create Evergreen, which launched, I think, was it autumn last year?
Yeah, around that, wasn't it? October, wasn't it?
Yeah, autumn. Yeah.
October.
Yeah.
Great. So what was that like? Why did you decide to take that route? How did it sort of come about? Who started it? Who asked who?
I think with me and Nathan, even though I'm in the south and Nathan's sort of around sort of the middle upwards of England, we kind of just spoke every day anyway. We'd always bounce ideas off each other and just, talk through cases to make sure we're not going crazy when something seems a bit odd sort of thing. But it was just, I don't know, it was brought to us, wasn't it? It was someone said it to us, well, why haven't you done it yet? And we were sort of, it's a good question, really. Why haven't we done it yet? And we just got ideas sort of bouncing from one another, and then it kind of just with a lot of careful planning, it just all happened at the right time, didn't it, Nath?
Yeah, it did. I think it was one of those things when somebody says something to you, and at the time you go, "Oh yeah, great idea," and it kind of parks, and then but later on, I know I was later that evening, I was thinking, actually, that's a really good idea. I wonder why we haven't already even thought of this. So again, you sleep on it, you think about it again, and then I spoke to you, didn't I? I picked the phone and said, shall we do this? I think this is a good idea. We can do this, and this. We're already doing everything to make great businesses separately, but we can bring them together. And I think what the key thing about this is, because I don't think it's just about bringing two great good businesses to great businesses together. I feel it's like having that synergy, but also being able to fill each other's voids as well. So say, for instance, again, I don't like saying it because I'm financial advisor, but Ryan's really focused on, spreadsheets, figures and things like that. And I'm saying it this time because it sounds like I'm a financial advisor. I do like numbers as well. Do you see what I mean? But from Ryan's perspective, that's his focus. Whereas for me, my perspective is looking at how we can create more business and speak to more clients and interact in different ways, and create articles and marketing, all those different aspects as well of a business, which when you join us together, it fills everything. Do you see what I mean? Rather than me and Ryan being exactly the same, we're trying to do the same stuff. We're the same in work ethic, but we're all doing different things. So when you put that together, it fills everything, which is, I think that's the real big secret to this, rather than just going, oh yeah, come on, let's all join businesses together, because I don't think that always will work, because you might have people that are, which are great separately, but when together they want to do the same things. Whereas with myself and Ryan, again, great separately, but together even better, because we can support each other in different ways.
Great.
Yeah, I think it helps that. I think when we sat down, it was what do we want it to be? What do we want the business to be? And it all aligned to like what I wanted it to be and what Nathan wanted it to be. And it was sort of looking at trying to help as many people, because obviously you got the advice gap, which everyone talks about and has been talking about for years and years and years. And it's just not enough people being seen. And then, sort of financial advice has got that stigma around where, well, you've got to have money to have a financial advisor. And then it's sort of the, like the everyday people as such as they, that go to work and raise a family and, got a work pension, but don't think too much or more of it. So it's sort of how many people can we help along the way? And, how many conversations can we have? And, what do we do within the business to make that more streamlined? So it frees up more time. Do you have to hire more staff? It's sort of all those things that were the things that we spoke about. But because we had the same objectives of what we wanted to achieve, it was easy to join the businesses together. So I think that helps as well massively.
Definitely. So I love a good name story. So who's going to tell me the thinking behind the name Evergreen?
All right, go on.
It was funny. It was I was driving back from a meeting. I was on the phone to Nathan. And I was like, "What are we going to call the business?" And I was like, "Well, it's a bit weird. We can't have my name in the title, and we can't have Nathan's name in it." And then when we tried to join them, can't really use my name for much, to be honest. So it was a bit. We had to think a little bit outside the box. It was a really nice day, and sun was shining, like a few clouds in the sky. And I saw this sign, and it said Evergreen. Well, that sounds nice. and then I didn't tell Nathan about the sign, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think about Evergreen?" He was like, "Oh, I like it." I was like, "Yeah." And it was only like recent, not too recently, but when we said it, I was like, "You know where I got that from?" And it was a sign, but it was like I see it as a sign because I was just driving. It was just stuck out at me, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's a great name." And then we thought about it more and more, and it was sort of like, you could have like a forest of trees growing, like trying to help clients. The more trees and more clients and things. And it just sounds nice, and yeah, that's how we come up with it, and that's the truth. I could have
no, that's a lovely
fed you
story. I love it.
another story.
Could have lied about it, but no, he didn't. And then, as he's just said there, it just grew into grew and Evergreen. It just grew into more, didn't it? Really, and when we speak about different aspects and planting seeds and growing into the future and turning into all this and for forest and things like that, it creates a nice atmosphere and a warming feeling for clients to look at. And it's not just about, oh, I'll see you now and not forever. It's a relationship building thing as well. So when people see that, it's something that we can grow through together. So the name was a sign. Actually was a sign. I found that out when he wasn't lying because he said it was a sign, but it literally was a sign. And then, but then it's grown into something which is actually really nice and great for the client as well.
Lovely. So, can you tell me anything about your future plans?
Don't we go on some of this, right?
Yeah,
and then
this is Nathan's creativity.
He'll be winding me in if I think he's going to cost any money. So yeah, so there's a lot that we want to do, genuinely in relation to. And I know, Ryan, we you mentioned the finance gap, and that's something which is really important as well, because at the moment we always, as you speak to people, they say, I haven't got enough money to speak to a financial advisor, but it's more about the education. And okay, so yes, you haven't got some money to invest at the moment, but how do you get that money to start investing? That's a question that people don't, financial advisors don't help with. Or maybe, somebody may have £10,000. Okay, for a financial advisor, it might not be that for their time to go and sit down with that client, but that doesn't mean that they don't need some advice or guidance. And that's where certain aspects of, different kinds of advice journeys can come into it as well. Going back to what we have planned, we have a lot of financial education that we're going to be putting out for this year. And that's helping not just adults, but going down as well to teenagers and possibly even younger, for different aspects and that. Because we do believe a lot of mistakes in relation to finance just come from a lack of knowledge. People don't go out purposely. The majority of people don't go out purposely to make these mistakes. It's just because they don't know. And then, by the time they then speak to somebody or understand, it's then far too late to try and reverse from that. So it's about maybe, we're going to be putting out a lot of different education pieces so people can sit down and go through that and understand more. We're really focused on getting, explaining in a clear manner and just getting rid of all this jargon. If you can speak in a lot of jargon, it doesn't mean that you're super highly qualified and better than the other person in front of you. It just doesn't mean that. Our jobs are to take things that are super complicated and put them in front of a client so they can truly understand every aspect of it in their way. You don't, sometimes you've got to use these words because there isn't another word to explain it, but then you can explain what that word is for the client. So we're about just demystifying and getting rid of all of that jargon as well. And then approach for this year is our growth. So we've already taken on 2 advisors, and they're new to advice, which is again wonderful. Kind of mimics our growth, our entry into the business as well. And what we want to do for them is create an atmosphere where they can ask, they can learn. It's, they've got support from us all of the time. They've got support from M&G behind in the background as well when needed. And to make that journey really, really easy for them from a new to advisor going through the business, going through their journey as well. So it's about the education pieces and also around our growth of our new advisors.
Lovely. Sounds great. I did just want to ask you, because you've mentioned the advice gap a lot, if you see tech as a thing that's going to help sort of in closing the advice gap. And specifically, do you have any thoughts on, obviously artificial intelligence is like the buzzword of the moment. Everyone seems to be talking about it. Do you have any thoughts on whether advisors are going to be able to use that to help?
Both. So yes, it will. So tech can definitely help, and it's a journey where once it's right, it's going to be absolutely amazing for clients. Because again, it goes back to my point where if someone has an amount of money to invest and it's not to an advisor's minimum limit, oh, sorry, I can't help you. So what happens with that client? That client is still a client. Do you see what I mean? They need something that they need to invest that money in. So looking from a tech perspective, there's different avenues that we're also looking at. Is there something where there's an app where people can invest it and then they can move across to us when they need it or ask questions directly, and that's where the AI can possibly come into it as well. So I don't think AI at the minute is at a point where it can give financial advice, because it gives us facts, but I don't think, and again, if I'm wrong, then correct me, I don't think it can understand human emotion. I
certainly hope it can't.
Yeah. Well, there was a thing that I read, where there was a Google one where supposedly it started to understand emotion, and that's something why they had to stop. But I don't know if that. Yeah. Yeah. So emotion and things. So factual is great, and we have to work off facts. That's understandable, but you also have to understand emotion and understand the client and be in front of them. I think you could manipulate AI if a client could, definitely, just by what's put in it, and AI is very factual. So say for instance you said to me, Nathan, I want to have £10,000, but if you would have had 9,999, it would all have been tax free. The AI will just give it to you because that's what you just asked for. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than looking at it from a broader perspective. However, what I do believe it will be able to do a lot quicker is help with basic needs and analysing clients that are building money from a shorter perspective. So if somebody's invested their £5,000 or £500 a month, whatever it is, into a fund, they could analyze that and see if it's working for them. They could maybe offer new funds, they could give ideas, they could maybe ask basic questions to it. So I do think AI is something which is going to be very helpful in relation to analyzing clients and helping them grow, offering basic needs. Do I believe we're going to have AI as financial advisors? I don't think yet. I think it probably will come in the future in some aspect, but I don't think yet. But it's difficult because you can speak to somebody and they'll be like, yeah, it's coming, it's going to be here too in 2025. You're going to have AI advisors walking around the streets and stuff like that. You know,
in 2025, wow,
yeah, just 1 year away. Just we've got the Tesla robots and everything all about. So it could be one of them. But I definitely do think there's a place, and offering different avenues for clients. I think that's so important. It's somebody might not want to see an advisor just yet. They might just want to just manage their own money. It doesn't mean they don't need help. They still need the guidance to do that. They might just not want to speak to somebody at this moment in time. So I think it's all about offering clients a way that they can still interact and get education and get that financial advice through their own avenue, but still have the option, if needed, then to speak to an advisor.
Yeah, definitely. I also wanted to ask about, obviously, the Consumer Duty came into force in July last year. How has that been for you? Have you noticed have you had to do anything differently, or have you noticed any differences? How much does M&G help with that as well? I assume you're an appointed representative of M&G. So how much of that is them having to look at the Consumer Duty, and how much have you had to be involved and sort of look at it?
Yeah, to be fair, M&G has been very supportive. Obviously, the Consumer Duty and passing all the relevant information down to us, which does help. And of course, me and Nathan have looked at it in detail as well. But from our point of view, Nathan and I have always tried to do a little bit more in more. So when the changes came into play, it was sort of things that we were kind of already doing or just needed to tweak a little bit. So from our point of view, it was just making sure a lot more obviously is recorded and being shown as what we're doing with clients on a day-to-day basis. But it's just really small tweaks, to be honest. From our point of view, I can imagine if you were an advisor that hadn't been doing what we were doing previously, then I can imagine there being fundamentally a lot more changes that you've had to build into your business. But for us, because we try and see it from a consumer point of view more than maybe an advisor point of view. Like if it was my mum and dad sitting there, what would I have liked to seen the advisor do, and what would I want to be recorded and shown, and all the options and things like that when looking at your investments or retirement planning. It kind of was very small tweaks for us. But I think the Consumer Duty itself is good in relation to protecting clients or giving clients a better outcome as is what's needed. And I think that's helping that become achievable.
Yeah, definitely. So we're probably coming to the end of our time for this podcast, but I did just want to ask you both, if we could just round off with what one piece of advice you would give to someone starting out on a career in financial advice. So I don't know who wants to go first.
I'm going to go first on this one in case he steals my idea.
Yeah, I know what he's going to say.
So for me, I think one of the biggest things, and if you're going to come into this industry, is really be patient and be confident in your ability, because people get told things like they're going to come in and going to earn this, and then it doesn't happen, and they get really, emotional around it and find it really difficult to move forward and get through that. The job is really hard. It is hard. You have 1,000,001 things to do. You then have to speak to people, understand their needs. You've got to make sure everything's perfectly right and it all gets checked. So it is a hard job. But you have to understand it's a long-term vision as well. So it's not just about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do for this year? I'm not going to be able to do it. You're going to have points where you feel that, oh yes, it's great, you're at that roller coaster, and then you're going to come down again. However, if you do give yourself time, and when I'm talking about time, I'm not talking 1, 2, even 3 years. I'm talking 4 years plus, moving forward. So even up to 4 years plus, realistically, is where you'll then start to really have those in-depth and really deep relationships with your clients, of which then they'll then start to get you referrals as well. And that's when you'll start to see your business grow in a different avenue. The first few years are difficult and tough and very slow, and nobody seems to let you know this. It is, but if you can just get through that time and believe in your own ability, it's not you as a person, it's just how it is. That's it. It's not you. It's not, the world isn't against you. It's just, that's the road that you just have to take, unless you're exceptionally lucky and somebody gives you everything straight away, which doesn't usually happen. It might happen 1 in 100 times to somebody, but the majority of the time it's not about you. It is just how it is. And have confidence in your ability over the long term.
Lovely, thank you, Ryan.
So yeah, for me, it's kind of the two bits of advice I'd give. It's especially if you're new or you're starting out on your own, is having a support mechanism around you. This job can be very lonely, and unfortunately, financial advice is not straightforward, even for advisors. You might have done all your exams, you could even be chartered, but never done the job until you sit down with a client and then you get a real life scenario. It's not like the textbooks. So having that support mechanism around you, I think it's the most important. Even if you have to join someone's business and have a pay away or something like that, you will build up your own knowledge a lot quicker. You'll probably build up your business quicker by having that support mechanism in place, because if you're stuck, you could wait weeks to finish a case where you could have it finished in a day or two once you've got all the information in. So I think having that in place is probably the most important important bit of advice, like recommendation from me. And then for me, it's a bit of a cheesy one, but I was told it when I was about 20 years old, and I became a banking advisor at Halifax. And it was someone who was retiring, who was a financial advisor when they had them at the bank. And he told me, you don't sell anything, you just solve problems. It's down to the client to choose how they want to solve that problem. And he said, if you always do the right thing, you always make more money in the long run. And I can honestly say I've kept that to heart, because of course everyone works to make money and they want to be successful, but if you always do the right thing, it always seems to have benefited myself and Nathan. The amount of times we've gone and saw a client and they've got a big pension or they've got some money and they're not sure what to do, and they don't want to retire for 18 months. Just wait. Just wait 18 months. Don't try and rush through a case just so you get the client on your book. Just be honest. And if the pensions or the investment's great where it is, just be honest and say, I wouldn't make any changes. It's great where it is. And you'll find that more people will come back to you for being honest than trying to do something you probably shouldn't have done. So for me, it's just always doing the right thing. And just build up your reputation that way, to be honest.
Perfect. Thank you both so much. I've really enjoyed having this conversation today. I think it's been really interesting. No, I'm trying not to say interesting. That's New Year's resolution. I think it's been really fascinating to talk to you both. Thank you for joining me, and good luck with the business.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Louise. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine, so make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.